And our last speaker of this session will be Professor Ali Parsa. Would you like to continue, sir, please? Dean of the School of Real Estate and Land Management, Royal Agricultural University.
Merhaba. I hope I will not keep you long from your lunch. It is absolutely great pleasure to be here in this wonderful city, which is the crossroad of civilizations and has been there for centuries and should be there for the next few centuries or millennia. I have been privileged to have a year of sabbatical in the past year, and I have used this few months so far to travel to different parts of the world, work with different colleagues, and in particular, in the past 2 or 3 months, I have been based at the National University of Singapore. And there was a reason for that. In early 2002-03, we did a major project looking at the national development strategy of Singapore, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and another city in the United Arab Emirates, Sharjah. It was funded by partly the RICS and the University in Singapore and a couple of other sponsors. So part of my strategy was to spend almost 12 years after the event to see what has happened actually, what changes have occurred in Singapore. So that's really the context of where I'm coming from. And I'm also aware that on Friday there will be a senior government official from Singapore who will be talking about Singapore. So I shall not divulge a lot of detail to precede his presentation. And I also need to declare I'm not a technologist, and I do apologize to those members in the audience who are much more specialists in technologies. I hope you bear with me. I'm in my silver hair years, I'm trying to understand and catch up with all the jargons that is created every day in terms of technological terminologies which are being used. Just that is a challenge in itself. And I'm also trying to find out, as a citizen of this world, how my life, my family's life, and my friends' life, and the societies that I live and work are impacted by the fourth industrial revolution. The context of my talk is about urban growth and change, then to see what industrial revolutions throughout the centuries have impacted our cities and what is the concept of a smart city, and then look at Singapore in a bit more detail, and then to see how the real estate sector can play its part to embrace this technological revolution and come up with the real concepts. Otherwise, it will be redundant. In 1950, the world population was 2.5 billion, and only 746 million people lived in cities. By 2014, the world population had reached 7.2 billion, with 3.9 billion living in cities. The world population is projected to reach 9.6 billion by 2050, and urban population of 6.4 billion. If we look at the world population distribution, and we look at Africa, Asia, different continents, you note that Asia only occupies 31.98 million square kilometers, which represents about 21% of the Earth's habitable area. There are 51 countries in Asia with a total population of 4.4 billion, which is representative of 59.6% of the world population. Have a think about that. And look at the Americas, 42.5 million square kilometers, 28% of the Earth's habitable area, 57 countries with a total population of just under 1 billion, representing 13.4%. And if you look at these figures, and then you understand why the Chinese have a long-term vision, why the Belt and Road Initiative is happening. This initiative is going to change Asia. I don't know how many people actually take it serious in Europe or the States. They only look at it from a political colonialist point of view, saying that China has desires. But if you look at the combined population of India, and China, then you know why there is a logic behind that strategy. The global urban population growth is propelled by the growth of cities of all sizes. Back in 1990s, there were only 10 cities above 10 million population. By 2014, there were 28 cities above 10 million population. By 2030, there will be 41 cities above 10 million population. And indeed, megapolises such as Shanghai, Istanbul, or Tokyo will be in excess of 30 million. But as you also see, there is a great number of cities between 5 to 10 million. And these cities are also going to need the provision of services, infrastructure, quality of life, employment. So how have all the different industrial revolutions impacted our cities? And how they have impacted our lives and indeed shaped our history? The first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production, which lasted between 1786 to early 19th century. The second industrial revolution used electric power to create mass production and other sources of energy, including oil and gas. Between 1870 to early 20th century. The third industrial revolution used electronics and information technology to automate production and the emergence of nuclear energy between 1969 to early 21st century. Of course, nuclear energy was a little bit before that. Now, a fourth industrial revolution is building on the third, the digital revolution that has been occurring since the middle of the last century. It is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. The fourth industrial revolution is shaped by emergence of the internet, digitization, 3D printing, Internet of Things, or as some experts call it, the industrial Internet of Things, cloud, big data analytics. Digitization enables us to build a new virtual world from which we can steer the physical world. Smart cities mean multifunctional spaces, as we shall see a little bit later. The typical characteristics of this industrial revolution, as identified by Klaus Schwab, who is the person behind the concept of the World Economic Forum, in his book, seminal book, is the velocity of this revolution, which is evolving at an exponential rather than a linear pace. Breadth and depth of this revolution, which leads to the unprecedented paradigm shifts in economy, business, society, and individually. It is changing the what, the how of doing things, but also who we are. System impact, it involves the transformation of entire systems across and within countries, companies, and society as a whole. If we can show this clip, please. With the technological development, it is difficult to now realize what is fiction and what is reality. Some member of the audience might like this clip because it features Tom Cruise. This is a film which was made in 2002. As you can see, there is already the concept they are talking, imagining the world with autonomous driving cars or capsules. You can see the vertical and horizontal movements and how only under 20 years we are as a society gripping with this and finding a way to work with this new technology and in a way freedom of movement and mobility of our cities. Such technological innovations are changing the functional and spatial role of our cities and the nature of our cities. Should finish soon. but it is also the power of corporations, how power can be monopolized through the use of technologies, but for the good and the bad. And it is those areas that need further discussion and its impact on the society, on the poor and the rich. Because otherwise it will create its own problems. There is a lot of unknown. However, we have no choice but to embrace such technology. Thank you. The impact of the Industrial Revolution is in terms of economy is enormous. It is taking such a short time. The top 6 largest global companies are platform-based or internet-based. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Alibaba. Who had heard of Alibaba 25 years ago or 20 years ago? Indeed, these are the new masters of the world, the way they manage to get services to us as consumers or provide other control other aspects of our lives. The top 4 have greater market value than the top 12 banks worldwide. Entities such as Uber, Grab, or whatever they are called in different countries now, Airbnb, they are having major impact on our cities. And how can planning and planners actually embrace this and address this? You are working, thousands of people are working all over the world for a company that they don't even know where the HQ is located. They don't have a boss. They only know somebody on the internet, on a platform of this company, and they all go about their lives working. However, there is a bombshell waiting for us in the next 20, 30 years. These people have no pension plans, no holiday plans, no insurance. So how is our society going to cope with that? The 4th industrial revolution is about big data. Big data is a term used to refer to large, complex data sets that cannot be analyzed using traditional data analysis techniques. The use of big data is becoming a key basis of competition and growth for professional firms, and it is already affecting every area of a business activity, including real estate, construction, and the built environment. And indeed, this publication, which was put out by DRICS a little bit earlier in the year, really maps out the implication of this for various expertise at different levels of income and different levels of knowledge, and how the profession is going to be affected by that. I would highly recommend for you to read this if you haven't done it already. The British Standard Institute observed that more information was generated in the past 2 years than the entire history of mankind. So you can see what the big data is about.
These commuters are
Again, we're
unaware.
talking about what is
Their every move is being
fiction
watched.
and what is reality.
Generations
Much of what was discussed or put forward as fantasy by the previous clip back in 2002 is actually reality now.
Recover their trajectory.
Dr. Xu runs SenseTime, a company helping China make surveillance cameras smarter.
We provide the embedded system that put AI technology inside the camera to help the camera to recognize face, recognize objects, and actually turning original video streams into structured data.
This includes real-time crowd analysis and even mood analysis. And China is the perfect testing ground. At this convenience store, registered customers enter with facial recognition. They buy items using their phones.
I like this store because I hate staff following me around.
It's more direct.
It's convenient.
Stores like these are symbols of what China calls smart cities. Incheon in Ningxia has become a model example. Here residents enter compounds with face recognition and track buses on their phones before leaving home. Transport can then be optimized based on user data.
They can take masses of user data and also other state data, like private company data, and figure out ways to make cities more livable. but also make cities more secure.
Under the banner of security and convenience, China's government now has data on almost all of its tech-savvy citizens, and technology, for the most part, has made cities better. Concerns, however, arise when technology itself begins to govern. And that's already happening. Alibaba's Sesame credit system uses purchasing data to rate people's integrity, and it may offer a glimpse at a more sinister future. By 2020, China hopes to roll out a nationwide government-controlled credit rating scheme, in which people may be scored based on measurements like how quickly they repay loans and whether or not they jaywalk. Dan Epstein, TRT World, Beijing.
Thank you. The company behind this concept is called SenseTime, which has been at the forefront of China's artificial intelligence, or AI, boom. It is supported by the Chinese government that plan to turn AI into a 150 billion industry by 2030. So you can see, again, technology is going to be a major driver of economic development. Funded in Hong Kong, this company has attracted investors, international investors, even American, US chip designer Qualcomm, and Chinese real estate developer Dalian Wanda. In April, Alibaba led a $600 million investment round into SenseTime, valuing the AI firm about $3 billion. Now, the concept of impact of the fourth industrial revolution technology applications that could address challenges for sustainability in emerging cities was put forward again by the World Economic Forum, a project which was with a number of international firms such as PwC, IMF, and the World Economic Forum. As you can see here, there are different areas and the application, and also in terms of smart planning and construction, sustainable transport and logistics, clean energy and utilities, urban health and resources, and resilient urban systems. As you can see, the blue kind of shows the intensity of how these new technologies can help us manage or mitigate risks, manage cities, and find a way forward. Again, this is perceived as game changers. Again, as you see in different terms, whether you are a living city, empowered cities, seamless city, adaptive city, regenerative cities. These levels of technologies and application can actually impact and are game changers in terms of urban development, urban planning, and urban management. Now, I would like to spend the last few minutes on Singapore. Many people think of Singapore just recently embracing the concept of a smart city. Singapore has been at the forefront long before the World Economic Forum actually came up with those concepts. It has been based on a long-term vision, a strong leadership, and long-term vision. Singapore's vision is based on think ahead, think across, and think again. To give you an example of this, when we were doing our major research back in early 2000s, we interviewed about 45 MNCs, multinational corporations that work in Singapore, and also all the relevant major government departments. We asked them about what was the vision in Singapore, and everybody said Singapore has a concept that they have found in no other country, a concept of firefly, which means a selected number of civil servants that work across different departments, different ministries. They actually are rotated across different ministries every few months. The reason and the logic for it is everybody knows what the left and the right hand is doing. That was then about 12, 14 years ago. It is now, when you look at the new ministers that have been just reshuffled, again, with a large portfolio of various governmental departments' experience, so they know how the machinery of government works. There is a unity about the vision and the development strategy of this country. Long-term investment in terms of infrastructure and development strategy is the cornerstone of development in Singapore. Creation of a world-class infrastructure through maintaining competitive edge via education, adoption of new technologies, and resource efficiency. And of course, utilizing its locational advantages. So a smart city concept in Singapore is about smart planning. A smart planning is used to create a livable city to provide a high quality of life for its citizens through creation of jobs, quality housing, and an effective transport system. An effective land use policy through land intensification strategy, a successful public housing program, a long-term infrastructure investment strategy. And I can look at this in a bit more detail in a minute, and I hope to keep within my confined time. Land use policy concept plans take a long-term 50-year view that integrates various needs for the country, supplemented by 10-year master plans, which translate the concept into strategies. The Land Acquisition Act has been instrumental in this overall strategy. It has followed a deliberate, carefully guarded objective by the government to retain land in Singapore for public housing. This includes land in the central area as well as land in outer areas of the island. There are just some examples of more new developments. And most of this land is reclaimed, of course, the Marina Bay area. Effective land transport policy has been through investment in public transport based on the mass rapid transit system and extensive bus network. Contrary to every other city in the world, Singapore discourages private car ownership through imposition of high import tax, car ownership tax, fuel, and road pricing. In fact, depending on the car you own, you pay as much for the privilege of owning a car. And it's only lasts for 10 years. And also limiting the number of new registered cars annually. Public housing program. Back in 1965, at the dawn of its independence, it was one of the poorest cities in the world, Singapore. And its major strategy of housing started back then. Through and financed via the Central Provident Fund, CPF, which is a mandatory savings scheme to finance public housing. I think there is a lesson there for many other cities or many other countries in the world to follow. Varied designs to cater to different affordability at different times. About 80% of Singaporeans own their home through the HDA, Housing Development Authorities, housing program. Regular maintenance and upgrading of public housing through the use of smart applications. Thoughtful social policies to achieve greater social integration in a multicultural society. Long-term infrastructure investment strategy to create a global hub, building world-class infrastructure, a world-class airport. For the past 6 years, it's been voted the best airport in the world. An efficient seaport. The new Tuas port, when it is fully developed, is going to be the single largest fully automated terminal in the world. It is also through well-designed industrial areas and the creation of Jurong Island, a $7 billion a complex of 7 islands into a 3,200 hectares of petrochemical complexes and 100 companies employing over 30,000 people. Now, we are talking about fictions and reality. Now, these are some of the projects that are actually happening and have happened in Singapore. Cities for the future economy. In fact, these few slides, I've taken them from the chief executive of the Subarna Jurong, one of the largest consultancies in Singapore that are at the forefront of future cities and many major iconic developments in Singapore. And the smart city or a smart nation vision was launched by the Singapore Prime Minister in 2014 with the aim to make, basically the aim of the government is to strive to be a smart nation in which Our people are empowered by technology to lead meaningful and fulfilled lives by harnessing the power of networks, data, and infocom technologies. We endeavor to improve living, create economic opportunity, and build a closer community. We have the productive environment to experiment, prototype, and deploy innovative solutions that can be shared with other global cities.
Singapore is harnessing technology to the fullest, creating more opportunities for innovation, building strong communities, and improving the lives of citizens. This is a smart nation. This is Singapore. A key part of this vision is connectivity. Already, Singapore has a mobile penetration rate of 150% and is preparing next-generation seamless connectivity. Businesses and individuals can tap into open government data, encouraging the co-creation of innovative solutions. Real-time transport data is already bringing some exciting opportunities.
We need to empower the commuters with information, and information comes from data, where we share data openly with the public. And developers, industry, entrepreneurs can use those data to spur innovation, to co-create solutions together with the government, and actually benefit all Singapore citizens.
One North is a unique business community, a conducive ecosystem designed to facilitate new business ventures and nurture innovation.
This space is becoming like the hub of entrepreneurship here in Singapore. It's like you get the ease of connectivity to startup companies, to research institutes, to government bodies. And these are people that you want to hold very closely to you. You have innovators, people who always come out with new products, innovative products, and they're always looking at making a difference. It's about rubbing off positive energy off each other, and it just escalates, snowballs from there, and this is what gets everybody excited about this whole place.
Singapore's new Tuas terminal will be one of the largest and most technologically advanced deep-water ports in the world.
Our Next Generation Port initiative is part of the efforts to support Singapore's visions to become a smart nation. Our Next Generation Vessel Traffic Management System will have new capabilities such as predictive analytics, to forecast potential congestion hotspot within the port waters. It will also have sense-making capability, and with the introduction of new technologies, that will also give us an opportunity to upscale our workforce to handle higher value tasks and to manage new systems and new technologies.
A strategic crossroad of the world, committed to the future. Smart Nation Singapore.
If I may have 2 or 3 minutes to complete. Thank you very much. So as you can see, technological innovations can actually play a big part in development of our cities, not only in terms of the economic development, sustainability, but also creating a safe environment. I have lived in Singapore for a few months now, and it is so wonderful to walk around at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., no matter what clothes you have, what age you are, walk in total security of not being frightened of being mugged or attacked. It is a very precious value to have in a society. That is an outsider. I'm not here an agent of the government of Singapore. As I said, I travel a lot, and I think this is probably the 10 cities in the past 3 months that I have been to, so 4 months that I have been to since the beginning of the year. Sustainable transport and logistics, clean energy and utilities, urban health and resources, advancing circular resource management, planning new cities and retrofitting existing ones requires a paradigm shift, given a rapid urbanization and growing environmental pressures. Living building facades, as you've seen already in some of the buildings, green spaces, and urban agriculture. And also the creation of a resilient urban system, especially in those cities such as Istanbul, which are affected by natural disasters. Real-time integrated adaptive urban management systems and change management to better adapt, to learn from and respond to shocks. Disaster-ready urban infrastructure and buildings, and a smart emergency response system for natural and man-made disaster prevention, mitigation, and recovery. I hope that the clips that I've shown from Singapore shows the complexity and the sophistication of their projects. Now, this is also done by the real estate sector. The real estate sector is able to seize the opportunity. And these are some of the concepts that this particular development is going to happen in Thailand, again, put forward by Sorbonne Jurong Consultancy. As you can see here, you see multi-functional buildings. You have urban agriculture, you have rainwater harvesting, you have renewable energy, and you have green space, you have residential, work, leisure, and of course, infrastructure, all at a point. Again, planning for resilience due to diminishing resources, climate change issues, and loss in communities because of work, live, play, and leisure, and learn, and aging population, which both Singapore and China and many other European countries face. So this means a creation of sponge cities. Singapore actually absorbed or harnesses more than 90% of its rainwater. So that's why the terminology of a sponge city. Urban farming, because Singapore has no farm, so it has to really come up with concepts. So they are beginning to grow food in Singapore. And eco-cities, as you've seen, and smart cities. We need to actually rethink urban land use because of the sharing economy, because of Uber, because of Airbnb. This is land use in 4 dimensions, 3 dimensions plus the time dimension, that buildings can adapt. You can see here farming, you can see work, you can see residential, rain harvesting, renewable energy, everything at play. And this is where the role of real estate is really crucial. The Industry 4 provides great opportunity for the real estate sector. If it can adapt innovative approaches to real estate solutions and embrace the new technologies and add value, because real estate space is changing. You cannot go on and just build singular office buildings or singular shopping centers. They will be redundant in 20 or 30 years, depending where you are. New retail models. There is a lot of discussion in the UK and other places that because of the advent of internet shopping, many retail units in higher streets closed. In fact, if you look at some of the models which are being implemented by some Singapore real estate companies in China, they embrace this actually, and they add value. Multifunctional developments. And again, adaptive use for freelance workers. Their home is the office in the morning, during the day, and at night, it is their place to work. The adaptive office where you can hot desk, but at the same time have your meals served to you. The shared kitchen concept. If you are a restaurateur, you don't actually need to have your own specific kitchen. All you need to do is to take your boxes of ingredients, go 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., and use the shared kitchen. And of course, you serve it in the shared servery section. So real estate concepts are changing fast. And again, you can see the adoption. I'm assuming that the slides will be provided to participants later on. Can you tell me what is this space? What do you think this space is? When I saw this, I thought it was a coffee shop because they are selling coffee in there. When I went further, walked further, I saw people sitting, reading, looking at their tablets, and suddenly I realized it was a bank in a shopping mall. So you see how adaptive the real estate sector is becoming and how industries of different sectors are embracing this to change the whole perception of a bulletproof glass when you enter a bank. And of course, new smart cities are an international phenomenon. Songdo, South Korea, was described in 2014 by its US developers as the largest real estate investment, $40 billion. Masdar City, which is quite a lot behind schedule, conceived in 2006 as part of a much greater project to transform the country from its oil-based economy to one based on knowledge and innovation. On just the last slides. China, smart cities are viewed as a significant way to accelerate the process of industrialization, urbanization, and improving agriculture. 200 smart cities have been identified for inclusion under a national pilot scheme. The Indian government has a vision of a digital India and has put forward a plan to integrate smart city processes into 100 cities across the country. The United States Department of Transport awarded $40 million to Columbus in Ohio to basically find out and define what it means to be a smart city.
Professor, we have to be a little bit more quicker, okay?
I'm done. It's my last.
Okay, thank you.
Innovative funding. The conventional source of funding from government has actually dried up in many countries through different ideologies, etc. So to build a momentum for funding available for promising, sustainable, city-focused innovations, we need to have accelerators, venture capital, and impact investors that can build and support portfolios of fourth industrial revolution technology companies for urban environmental solutions. Urban and national governments need to provide innovative public-private partnership solutions, blended and risk finance, for example, challenge funds and viability gap funding to enable financing for the public good and technology development. Sovereign wealth funds, these are huge, and they have not really been tapped. National pension funds, alternative and ethical investment, Sharia or Islamic compliant finance, green funds, impact investment. There are so many to be explored and utilized more. So, what is the future? The future is really learning. We have to learn in order to survive. Otherwise, our cities will be left behind. Teşekkür ederim.
Professor Parsa, sorry for interruption, but now we're going to have some questions. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have some questions, we would like to hear them. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, I think that's it. Please, with a big applause to our speakers, thank you very much for your participation. This is the end of our session. However, we would like to give a present to our speakers. That's why I would like to invite Dr. Orhan Ercan, FIG Vice President and Congress Director. Dr. Orhan Ercan is coming to the stage and is going to present a present to our speakers. Hello. Thank you very much. It's a very special plate. It writes Krisi Potsi on it. And Professor Potsi says, thank you very much, FIG President, and thank you for your speech. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for being here, Mrs. Potsi. And the other one to Dr. Mustafa Palancıoğlu, Mayor of Talas, Kayseri. Dr. Orhan Ercan says it's a great honor to have you here. Thank you for coming. And once again, thank you to the mayor and Professor Ali Parsa. I haven't been to Singapore, but after this presentation, I really need to go there. My first destination. Once again, thank you very much. Sure, all together. Okay. Please. It's a family picture. We can have a big applause. We have some information to share. And now I would like to invite Mrs. Louise Fries Hassan, FIG Director and Co-Congress Director, going to inform us.
Thank you. Before you all have gone to lunch, I just want to give a few
Thank you very much.
A little information about this afternoon. First of all, for those of you who have not yet downloaded the conference app, please download it and you'll find all information on it. Further to this, I can announce that we have 14 technical sessions this afternoon. There's also our member association meeting, and we have 4 sessions with our institutional partners, and our Asia Pacific Forum. And finally, do not miss the Platinum Corporate Member session. Today, it's Trimble's session. Finally, we also have 1 session on the Volunteer Community Surveyor Program. This is a very interesting program that is made by the Young Surveyors and UN Habitat GLTN. Do come and hear about this one. And then finally, the lunch. I know you're all hungry. The lunch has been moved to 1 level up, so it's at the 2nd floor. Next sessions will start as planned in the program at 2 o'clock, so please be in the session rooms on time. Thank you. Bon appetit.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you. Thank you very much.